Hi, my name's Marcus Lutyens. I'm an artist that exhibits internationally, and I'm very honored to be part of the World Forum 4.0 and invited by Monish Upreti. And what I'm going to talk about today is the World COVID Memorial, and I'm going to share some slides in a moment. I'd like to start off just by talking about this memorialization project that's starting off in the United States and hopefully going across the world. And it's kind of within the context of this industrial revolution, this fourth industrial revolution, or perhaps we could better call it the imagination revolution, because it's not just industrial in terms of manufacturing, but it's actually a revolution at the level of consciousness. And it's also related to Web 3.0 and how things have become more and more decentralized across the world, decentralized and open. And my journey in this kind of memorialization process began in 2020. There was a lockdown in Los Angeles in March, and because I felt that there was a lot of anxiety going on around the world, I worked on 12 hypnosis sessions on this new platform called Zoom. And I did these 1-hour sessions once a week for 12 weeks. And there were people from around the world who'd log in, and I'd kind of guide them through this kind of relaxation process. And when the lockdown ended, about three months later, I started this memorial project called the Rose River Memorial, which involved making felt roses, one felt rose for each person that had passed away from COVID. And the idea of making a rose was because roses are often used in funerals and remembrances, and they symbolize courage and valor. And so I worked with different communities in all over the States, and I displayed these roses in different places with the help of the community. Top left is Hawaii, Maui. Top right is the Laumea Sculpture Center in Missouri. Bottom left is at the Christ Cathedral in Orange County. You can see the Archbishop there. And then bottom right, obviously, is Las Vegas. I also showed these 24,000 roses in Los Angeles at the Convention Center, which had also been a COVID field hospital. And the project was opened by the mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti. And we also took the project to Washington, D.C. On the right, you can see Eileen Brooks, whose dad died of COVID. And she went to bring the roses to the Capitol building. And on the left, you can see Congressman Adam Schiff, who supported the project, who's almost like a household name in the United States. And we even got onto the cover of the New York Times a couple of months ago. And I've taken the project to different places in the world. Top left is Torino in Italy. Top right is Alula in Saudi Arabia. Bottom left is Pucallpa in Peru. And then bottom right is a memorial I made for the 32 countries in the South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. And they have the names of people that have died from COVID in each country. But what I wanted to talk about today was this larger memorial. And I suppose the roots of my interest start in this memorial that was designed by my great-great-uncle, Sir Edwin Lutyens, and it's called the Cenotaph. It's in London. You could see here in this procession, the Queen is being brought by the Cenotaph. And it's an interesting building. It's very kind of, in terms of memorialization, it appears to be very conventional. It's a stone. The word cenotaph is an ancient Greek word for a memorial where the person isn't buried there. But what's interesting about it is that spatially, all the vertical lines converge at 1,000 feet in the air, and all the horizontal lines are part of a sphere that's 900 feet in diameter. So there's a big a kind of emptiness, let's say, around the space conceptually. And I think that's what we're heading towards with this new revolution. And perhaps, there's ways of kind of connecting with our ancestors, with our great grandparents and beyond through technology that don't exist right now, but that we may be able to help facilitate. For instance, Alexa, Amazon's Alexa is working with kind of replicating the voice of a deceased person so that you could actually have an AI conversation with them. And you could almost envision on tombstones to have a little QR code that you could pull up your ancestor and have a conversation with them. We're not quite that advanced in what we're doing, but in terms of the National COVID Memorial in the US, what we're working on is these different kind of structures that are to do with Web 3.0 and with the fourth industrial revolution, such as NFT, funding the project through NFTs, a database structure that's informed and modeled through AI, augmented reality as well, and also more conventional aspects such as an analog plinth, and work with the community in that. But I'll talk my way through it. So to start off with NFT funding, we're working with making 20,000 units of individual images related to the rose, and I'm working with a company called Tockless, and the NFTs will be purchasable through a digital wallet or else more conventional ways such as through Visa. And the idea is to make these roses so that they can help fund the project. And I've also teamed up with Marked by COVID, which is an incredible community platform that has worked throughout the United States. It's led by Christine Urquiza, that you can see on the left, who spoke at the Democratic National Convention in 2020, just after losing her dad to COVID. And their support group works with people throughout the US who've lost their mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, kids to COVID. And they've been working to establish COVID Memorial Day. They've worked with all sorts of different mayors and members of Congress, senators, congressmen, mayors around the country, and to gain their support. And I work with the community to create the guidelines for the memorial, which include the fact that the memorial should be personalized, so that you could pull up individual loved ones on the memorial, and that it's interconnected. So throughout the United States, for instance, if you lost your mom or dad in a separate state, you could still have access to them, and that it's scalable. So the memorial could be large or small, depending on whether it's for a huge state or a big city, or whether it's for a small town. And also that it's accessible to people all over the country, because a lot of memorials in the United States are just in Washington, D.C., and a lot of people don't have access to visiting them. So, why are we going to use technology in the memorial? COVID was really a kind of breaking point, and also an inflection point for these new technologies and for this fourth industrial revolution. And for better or for worse, many people said their last goodbyes on cell phones and tablets. And so that's why we wanted to adopt that medium to create a kind of augmented reality experience that you could see here. Basically, I kind of designed this mood board of what the user experience would be when they approach the memorial plinth. And as you can see here, this is kind of early mock-up, but the idea is that that there would be a physical plinth, just like a kind of conventional memorial, but out of the center of it, this spiral of photographs and stories of lost loved ones would emerge. And those lost loved ones would be basically ascribed a color background, depending on when they died. And also that would include some aspect of AI as well to filter through and clean up those images and get them ready for that. I also worked with different aspects of how these images would spiral up, how big the images would be, how spread out they would be, and the speed at which they would turn. And we've begun to do some demos. We've partnered with Snap Inc. of Snapchat to make some demos. And here's, for instance, is one that I did in my garden. And you can see, this is a kind of early demo. And you can see that how the photographs kind of spiral upwards slowly, and you can actually tap on the different parts of the spiral, and different loved ones would come up with a short quote or story, their name, their date of birth and death. And so you can see there how this is taking form with the help of Snapchat. It's got very advanced augmented reality capabilities. And we're also looking at the possibility of uploading some information from the users up into this memorial. So it's basically a two-way memorial. It's not a piece of stone that you walk by, and the most you can do is drop a flower there. This is a kind of living memorial. And we're also working with the University of Nebraska to create a database. It's incredibly difficult to get accurate data on those who've passed away from COVID for many reasons. But we hope to work with, perhaps with a blockchain, to create individual registrations for each person that passed away from COVID, and create a kind of streamlined database that includes photographs, names, dates, and also audio or written testimonials. And moving over to the analog side of the memorial, because we want to kind of join the kind of the virtual with the real. The idea is to make this a kind of plinth made out of stone that has 4 ramps that you can access. Here's some of the layout and the thinking processes behind making the plinth and making it accessible, and also thinking about technical aspects of how it drains and stuff. But in terms of the user experience, when you get to the plinth, if you don't have a cell phone, if you don't have a tablet, you can still kind of honor the COVID deceased, and leave flowers, and there can be talks and inspirational things going on there, just like a normal, let's say, quote unquote, old style memorial. And the idea is that we're going to put these across the United States, in different places, different states. And I'm happy to say that we have our first permanent commission through the governor of New Mexico, who invited us to place the memorial in a park that they are working on. A landscape architect, Ken Romig, has been working on this park, and we were happily kind of incorporated into the designs, which is very exciting and satisfying. And we've also worked on different possibilities, for instance, in Fairfax County, which is near Washington, D.C., in Utah, the idea perhaps to make one on the lake, and then in San Jose, in public squares. These are just kind of possible renders of what they would look like. And I'd like to say that we're going to do our first launch on October 29th at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where Snap will have completed their incredible AR interface, and marked by COVID, will have reached out to all their communities, and we'll be having our launch there. And after that, we aim to have a 12-city launch in basically 12 different cities around the United States, which will be non-permanent memorials, but we hope to get a lot of media attention through that, and then work more and more on the permanent COVID memorials. And I'd like to say that we are very excited and interested to work at the world level as well, to create the World COVID Memorial. And so if you have any suggestions or interests about bringing this memorial to your country, I'd be really interested in hearing about it. I can be found on Instagram or my website, www.lutyens.com. And we have begun conversations with friends in India, in the United Kingdom, and also in South America, but we'd love to extend this project outwards across the world and find ways that we can really bring this new kind of hybrid technology between kind of traditional and explorational, let's say, new technology in terms of memorialization in this time that's been so incredibly difficult for so many people across the planet. I'd also like to just finish up and say that if you'd like to support the project and acquire an NFT, you could see at the bottom www.ncm, which stands for National COVID Memorial, NFT.org, and we'd love to have your support. So thank you again for being here, for listening to my talk, and hopefully it was inspirational. Thank you. Goodbye.